Cody Hale's father was a doctor. His grandfather was a doctor, and his grandfather's grandfather before him. Personal physician to the Sterling family was a perilous profession. It demanded not only flawless diagnostic skill and unwavering calm under pressure, but also the ability to withstand the frantic tirades of the uninformed over a simple migraine, and the furious accusations of the truly powerful when faced with a genuine crisis. The unspoken sentiment was always the same: if the patient doesn't make it, your life as you know it is over. Cody was the sole heir to this medical legacy, a fact that weighed heavily on his family, who had chosen his name in the desperate hope that each day he left for the Sterling estate would be a day he returned from it. When Cody was 10, he accompanied his father to the private hospital wing rented out for the birth of the Sterling heir. It was a complicated delivery. The matriarch, a woman of formidable composure, screamed with a raw, guttural intensity that echoed in the sterile halls. The patriarch, a titan of industry, paced outside, his voice a low growl as he informed them that he expected both mother and child to be perfect. The alternative was unthinkable. After a grueling night, silence finally fell. The mother was exhausted but safe. The infant, a small, pink, and surprisingly placid boy, was placed in Cody's arms for a moment. Cody, feeling the adrenaline and fear of the last 12 hours coursing through him, looked down at the baby's perfectly round face and gently poked his cheek. He whispered that the tiny creature had nearly cost him everything before he even had it. The heir was named Julian, and he was, from that moment, the radiant center of the Sterling universe. Consequently, the pressure on the Hale family intensified. When Julian had a fever, his mother would inform Cody that if he couldn't fix it, his career would be in ashes. Cody would calmly explain that it was a minor cold and the prescribed medication would work swiftly. When Julian scraped his hand on a climbing wall, his father would declare that if there was a scar, Cody would be finished. Cody had to patiently demonstrate that it was a superficial wound, not caused by anything sinister, and would heal on its own if kept clean. One afternoon, after Julian had playfully covered himself in his mother's expensive crushed pearl face powder, the head of household staff lamented that if Cody couldn't get it out of the boy's ears, there would be hell to pay. And when Julian simply ate too much cake at a birthday party, his personal tutor warned Cody that any lingering discomfort would be a black mark on the Hale family name forever. In the quiet moments after these consultations, when Julian was napping and blissfully unaware, Cody would enact his small revenge, poking the boy's soft cheek and muttering under his breath about the grief he caused. Cody grew up in this crucible of high-stakes pediatrics, leaving for the Sterling penthouse each day and returning home intact. Julian learned to walk and talk. He also learned not to overindulge at dinner or cover himself in cosmetics, so Cody's visits, and thus his opportunities for a retaliatory poke, became less frequent. As Julian entered adolescence, the reasons for Cody's summons shifted. He was called for a wrist sprained during a punishing tennis lesson or knuckles bruised from sparring with a private trainer. By then, Julian had developed a profound stillness. In the quiet of the examination room, he would watch Cody with dark, discerning eyes, an unnerving vigilance that left no opening for Cody's familiar, childish gesture. Still, opportunities arose. Julian trained and studied with a ferocious intensity that, when he finally succumbed to sleep, plunged him into a state of deep unconsciousness. Cody, applying a cold compress or checking a bandage, would sometimes steal a moment, a quick poke to the cheek, and a silent chuckle at the thought that for all his burgeoning power, the young heir was still vulnerable to him. When Julian's father suffered a sudden, fatal aneurysm, Julian, barely out of his teens, ascended to the head of the global media empire. Cody saw him even less. The few times they were in the same room, it was at a formal distance, the air thick with Julian's new, immense authority. Cody mused on the strange, rarefied atmosphere of extreme wealth, how it could mold a boy he once knew into an inscrutable man whose thoughts were hidden behind a mask of cool control. The overt threats against Cody's career all but vanished. No one in the new hierarchy dared imply the young chairman was anything but invincible. Sometimes, a summons would come late at night for a vague complaint of a headache or fatigue. Cody would be led into the vast, silent penthouse apartment. Julian would have already dismissed his staff. He would be lying on a sofa, eyes closed, offering no words of greeting. Cody often wondered why, if Julian didn't want to see a doctor, he didn't just allow a remote diagnosis via his advanced medical tech. After a quiet examination and a written prescription, Cody would look up to find Julian had fallen into a deep sleep, the toll of his new responsibilities etched onto his face. Cody found himself thinking that if being the family physician was hard, being the head of the family was an impossible burden. He felt a flicker of conscience, and his old impulse to poke was tempered. He would hesitate, then settle for a light, fleeting touch to Julian's cheek before departing. This time, the call came just as Cody was drifting off to sleep. The penthouse was dimly lit, the air filled with the clean scent of diffused eucalyptus. A sleek, marble partition half hid the enormous bed where Julian lay in a simple, dark t-shirt, the fabric clinging to a physique that had become lean and powerful. Cody gave a respectful nod to the empty room and approached. He could see the dark, bruised-looking circles under Julian's eyes, stark against his pale skin. Julian's voice was faint when he stated that his head had been splitting for days. Cody thought it was painfully obvious. The kid was running on fumes. A brutal hostile takeover that had been front-page news for months had just concluded in Julian's favor, a victory won through sleepless nights and relentless effort. Now that it was over, he should be resting. Cody was about to suggest that simple rest was the only prescription needed and that he would see himself out, but Julian's hand was already extended towards him from the bed. Cody sighed internally and placed his fingers on the steady, thrumming pulse point of Julian's wrist. He began to say that it was understandable given the recent business pressures, but Julian interrupted, his voice a low murmur, stating that his chest hurt as well. Cody was taken aback. He wondered if sleep deprivation could manifest as chest pain. This was unusual, and a part of his clinical mind sparked with interest at the prospect of a challenging diagnosis. The patient was already lying down, and it seemed improper to ask him to sit up. After a moment's hesitation, Cody asked for permission, then carefully unhooked the small biometric sensor clipped to Julian's shirt, his fingers brushing against the warm skin of Julian's chest. He leaned forward to listen with his stethoscope, his own hair falling forward and obscuring Julian's view. The heartbeat was strong, perhaps a little fast, but nothing alarming. Cody frowned in concentration, unsure of what to make of it. As he considered the possibilities, Julian spoke again, his voice even softer. He mentioned that his eyes felt dry. Cody felt a wave of relief. That was a simple matter, easily explained by exhaustion. He could prepare a soothing compress for the dark circles. Julian then requested that Cody take a look. Resigned, Cody leaned in again, this time to examine his eyes. Ignoring the dramatic shadows beneath them, he had to admit Julian's eyes were striking, a deep, lucid black. They were supposed to be dry, but they appeared moist and clear. They were also perfectly reflective, mirroring Cody's own face in miniature. He found himself absently noting that his own jawline was holding up well, and his nose had a decent profile. A deep voice, resonating very close to his ear, asked what his professional opinion was. The warmth of Julian's breath tickled his skin, and Cody flinched back, mentally cursing his own idiocy for getting lost in his own reflection. He felt a flush of embarrassment and began to babble some professional-sounding nonsense about ocular strain and fatigue, finally managing to conclude the thought by mentioning a proprietary soothing eye gel his father had developed. He was about to say he could have some sent over from his clinic, but Julian's quiet voice cut him off again. He thought, perhaps, that his leg was bothering him too. Cody's patience frayed. He wondered what this was all about, dragging him from his bed to play this game. He made a silent vow that when this was over, if Julian fell asleep, he would deliver the most satisfying poke of his life. But first, he had to navigate the current awkward request. The leg was a difficult area. Pulling up a pant leg was one thing, but Julian was wearing loose-fitting lounge pants that would need to be removed. The apartment was unnervingly silent, the staff long gone. Cody felt a strange mix of clinical detachment and a kind of trepidation. This was, after all, Julian Sterling. The power dynamic was absolute. He hesitated, his hands hovering uncertainly. Julian murmured that it was probably nothing. Cody made a non-committal sound, still wrestling with his own discomfort. Julian continued, his voice taking on a harder edge, explaining that the consortium from the failed takeover was sending representatives for reconciliation talks tomorrow. The next few days would be a performance, involving golf outings and sailing, all designed to project an image of unshakable American strength. Cody didn't need to hear the rest. If Julian's leg failed him, if he showed any weakness, the fallout would be immense, and Cody Hale would be the one to pay the price. He clenched his jaw. Fine. He had helped bring this man into the world. He could certainly deal with his pants. He shut his eyes and gave the waistband a firm, decisive tug. There was a soft tearing sound. He felt a hand gently touch his hair. A voice, no longer weak, said that he had ripped them. Cody's eyes snapped open. Julian had pushed himself into a sitting position. Cody blinked, confused, and asked if his leg didn't hurt. Julian's legs, which looked perfectly strong and uninjured, were now clamping Cody's hand firmly between them. Julian told him it would feel better after Cody poked it. Cody was speechless. Julian looked at him, his gaze direct. He said that Cody had been poking him since he was a child, and asked if Cody really thought he never knew. Cody could only stare. Julian explained that he had simply endured it. He had to endure it when he didn't have the power to stop it. He had to endure it when his position in the company was precarious, and he had to endure it while he was fighting his war. Cody felt a jolt as he became aware of a distinct pressure building against his trapped hand. A profound sense of alarm washed over him. He stammered that Julian was young and healthy, and that he could go find a member of the house staff. Julian's grip tightened. He asked why Cody thought he had been in such a rush to orchestrate the takeover, to consolidate his power, if not to finally be free of the constant threats and manipulations from his own board members and their ambitious families. It struck Cody then that the dark circles under Julian's eyes might not have been solely from managing a corporate empire. He suggested weakly that since Julian was now firmly in control, his long-sought goals achieved, perhaps he should get some rest. Julian's response was flat. He couldn't sleep. Cody offered to prescribe a mild sedative. Julian shook his head slowly, a single lean finger extended. He said it was because the great victory was won, but a small personal debt remained unpaid. The realization hit Cody with the force of a physical blow. He had been on this person's mind for years. In the dim light of the penthouse, a formidable shadow leaned over him. Julian's voice was a low whisper. He asked Cody how, exactly, he should go about getting his poke back. Cody's face went pale, and a single thought screamed through his mind. My God, they should have just let me be finished all those years ago. Cody Hale's perilous career as a physician continued, long after that night, until he was an old man. But the nature of the peril had changed. After the international consortium left the city, Cody was promoted by executive order to be the chief medical officer for the entire Sterling family, a position created just for him. His colleagues were mystified, especially by the bizarre, official stipulation in his contract. His sole patient was to be Julian Sterling himself, a man in perfect physical health. This effectively shielded Cody from the whims and complaints of the entire extended, and often unreasonable, Sterling clan. His career survival rate was now projected to be the highest in the history of his profession. His peers were consumed with envy, unable to comprehend how Cody had secured such an unheard-of arrangement. When asked, Cody would simply adopt an expression that made it clear he would rather die than explain. Under the weight of his prestigious new title, Cody threw himself into his work, not as a clinician, but as a researcher determined to earn his reputation. It was because of this that the truth was finally revealed to his colleagues. During an experiment with botanical alkaloids, Cody accidentally poisoned himself. The other doctors rushed to treat him. Julian Sterling arrived at the hospital and refused to leave the bedside. He stood watching Cody's still form, his face a grim mask. One of the senior doctors began to assure him they were doing everything they could. Julian cut him off. His voice was quiet but carried an unnerving weight as he looked at the medical team. He told them that if they couldn't save him, the doctors all instinctively completed the phrase in their heads, "You're all finished." But what Julian actually said, his gaze locked on Cody, was something else entirely. He said that if they couldn't save him, he would go down with him.